list of what we know are some environmental risk factors for mood disorders in youth, academic difficulties, bullying, obviously, bullying, huge concern there, or witnessing violence, witnessing other young people being bullied, physical, sexual, or emotional abuse or neglect, exposure to natural disasters. Again, there's the recreational one, few opportunities for physical activity and sports, greater than 2 hours per day of leisure time and screen use. And I want to share while I'm thinking about it, if you all are interested in a really great resource, let me make sure I'm chatting everyone here. There is a nonprofit organization some of you may be familiar with called Screen Sanity. I, in one of my other roles, had them host a training for a university that I was coordinating some CEUs for them, and Screen Sanity came and did a CEU presentation for us. And their mission is to help young people and help families develop healthy relationships with technology. They have videos, they have resources on their site, they have so many great tools for parents, for families, for young people. And so if you are wanting a resource to recommend to your families that you're working with, or you want to check it out, Screen Sanity is a great resource to have in mind, because we know that this excessive use of technology is something that we're figuring out is really problematic. But it's kind of like, how do you put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube? It's hard to do that. And so once social media is out there, how do you funnel it back in, especially with young people, and rein that back in within them when they've already been exposed to so much? So Screen Sanity is very helpful because it helps parents either from a young age in terms of this preventative. I want to start at a young age of really being very mindful. Uh, or if you have a young person that is struggling with this excessive screen time, it's also helpful for adults as well. They have some great resources for adults because we also need to have screen sanity as well as grown-ups. Protect young eyes. Thank you, Mona. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, Stephen, states are suing social media companies for harm, right? So some other environmental factors here is foreign-born or perceived discrimination. So our immigrant families, if there's perceived actual discrimination, loss of a loved one, low socioeconomic status, parental rejection, or low invalidating, anything in that category, parental involvement, and of course, poor family functioning or caretaker depression. So again, we see that genetic familial risk, which is both environmental but also genetic, as we are finding. Okay, let's flip the pancake and let's look at the other side. What do you think are some protective factors for young people against mood disorders? What do you think are some protective factors? Yes, so you all are naming resilience, good physical health, good family support, clear expectations at home, spirituality, a good relationship with teacher and coach. Because sometimes kids may not have that great of relationships with their parents, but if they have really good, safe relationships with one or two trusting adults, that can make a very big difference, right? Yeah, and basically, Stephen, right, the opposite of all the things we said were risk factors. Yep. Strong cultural identity, Tyler. Yes, and permission to enact that cultural identity, right? I know I worked with a teenager once that wanted to be living his cultural identity, but his family was ashamed of their cultural identity. And so he was very stifled, and that was creating some mental health distress for him and some acting out. So, how is this young person being supported in living their cultural identity? Yes. Affirming adult summer. I think that says a lot right there. Yeah, the body shaming, trying to get rid of the body shaming. Absolutely. Yeah, so here's your protective factors. A lot of these you all have mentioned. Academic achievement, intellectual development. Again, this is not to say that young people that get good grades cannot have mood disorders, but we find there's a higher correlation with poor academic performance and lack or higher increase of mood disorder. So the better academic performance, that can be considered a protective factor. Engagement and connection in two or more of the following contexts: schools, with peers, athletics, employment, religion, culture. So, a lot of the things that you all mentioned. Somebody mentioned rules, limits, monitoring. We like to think that young people don't like rules and don't want rules, and we'll be the cool parent if we don't give them any rules and just let them do whatever they want. But the truth is that young people uh, really like rules, and they may not like articulate, like, oh, I like rules, please give me more. But developmentally, psychologically, it helps young people feel safer and feel like there's more predictability in their world, and that adults care enough about them to have these rules, right? To say that, you need to be home by midnight because I care about you, and you're 17 and I don't want you to be out at 3 a.m. Nothing good happens at 3 a.m. So because I care about you, your curfew is going to be midnight, right? And so it's important for us to work with parents on this, because sometimes parents think, well, I want to be my kid's friend, and so that means that I have to be really lenient. The other thing that I've heard lately is this concept of gentle parenting that has been misunderstood, where there are some parents that think that gentle parenting means no parenting. And that really, then they begin to see that their child is exhibiting some really challenging behaviors. And so we know that the structure, the limits, the rules, and that predictability, the routine, children and youth really crave that. They may resist against that sometimes, but developmentally, psychologically, emotionally, they really need that. And that can be really hard for some parents that have their own histories, right? Yes. You see presence of mentors, opportunities for engagement within school and community. So there's clubs, there's groups, there's social events. They can volunteer. Teenagers are allowed to come down to the town square and decorate the sidewalk and create some art. And they become part of the community, and they become, a meaningful contribution to the community. And then, of course, physical and psychological safety. When I did parent coaching, really important to talk about this appropriate nurturing, loving, but also limit setting, boundaries, rules, parenting. Absolutely. Yes. Great comments. Thank you, Carrie. Accepting all races, treating others with respect, and how much we can teach that to young people, right? That their brain is still forming and they may not have a lot of the biases that adults do. And so these fresh young brains, we can really teach this concept of shared humanity and shared respect, and humans are humans, and all of these concepts that are so very important, and explaining to young people, why do people look different than us? Why is that person's skin a different color? Or why do they have different hair? Why do they dress that way? Or why do they sound that way? And we can actually have conversations with young people and encourage them to learn and to become curious and to become willing to learn about other cultures. Neuroplasticity. The brain can change, the brain can grow, the brain can repair itself. Even if you've had a really, really rough childhood and you feel like your brain is just kind of scrambled, there are things that we can do that help repair your brain, that help reconnect some of these areas of the brain that have been kind of broken. And that's why neuroplasticity is such an exciting concept.